Hey everyone, and welcome back for another deep dive.
I'm excited for this one.
Me too. Today we're going to be diving into landscape soundscape in painting music and mystical vision, a
Ugh.
lecture by the one and only Alan Watts.
I think his insights on art and creativity are more relevant today than ever.
Especially with everything going on in the world.
For sure, he really pushes us to question our assumptions about beauty and control and, like what it even means to experience the world around us.
Absolutely. So to start things off, Watts takes us on this sort of historical tour of art, pointing out that for centuries, painting and sculpture served mainly religious and functional purposes.
He calls this iconographic art.
Right.
It's fascinating when you think about it, how the purpose of art has changed so much over time.
Yeah, it's a really big shift.
From purely functional to fine art, as we call it today.
Exactly.
It really reflects a change in human consciousness. Like, we started to appreciate the beauty of the natural world for its own sake, not just as a backdrop for, religious stories or whatever.
He even makes this funny observation about how tourists visiting national parks often say a view is just like a picture.
But isn't it actually the other way around?
Totally. Landscape painting has had this huge influence on how we see beauty in nature.
It makes you wonder how much our perception of the world is shaped by the art we consume.
For sure. And along with this shift in focus, Watts points out this growing fascination with the non-symmetrical forms found in nature.
The beauty of clouds and rivers and mountains, those forms that kind of defy our human obsession with order and symmetry.
Yeah, like we're always trying to straighten things out, impose our ideas of good behavior onto the natural world.
Like, think about flying over the United States. You see those winding roads that follow the curves of the land?
Then you hit the plains and boom, it's all a
But
grid.
perfectly straight, predictable lines.
It's like we're trying to tame the wildness of nature.
It's so interesting to think about.
And speaking of wildness, Watts brings up this fascinating point about water. He says it's a fundamental source of both life and the artistic inspiration.
He even mentions this book called Sensitive Chaos by Theodore Schwenk, which explores how the patterns of water flow connect to all sorts of natural forms.
Even abstract art.
It really makes you wonder if artists are maybe unconsciously drawing inspiration from those fundamental patterns found in nature.
Like they're tapping into some deeper universal language through their art.
I think that's a really beautiful idea.
I agree. And Watts goes on to describe how art evolves from simply copying nature to creating works that actually embody the same principles found in nature.
Like Jackson Pollock's drip paintings,
Right.
which capture the energy and unpredictability of water in motion.
It's so cool how artists like Pollock and Gordon Onslow Ford and Mark Tobey all found ways to express the essence of nature without literally depicting it.
Exactly, and it's not just about the visual arts either.
Right.
Watts also talks about how difficult it is to define beauty or teach art.
He compares it to how we can't fully understand how our own brains work, even with all the science we have.
It's like creativity operates on a level beyond our conscious control?
It's almost like a mystery.
It's a mystery that continues to fascinate and inspire us.
And this is where things get really interesting. Watts turns his attention to music, specifically the very formal and ritualistic nature of Western classical music concerts,
He even jokes about how serious the orchestra members look,
and how any little sound from the audience is treated like, this huge distraction.
like it's some kind of sacred ritual.
It is kind of funny when you think about it.
But it also says a lot about our cultural emphasis on control and order.
Right, like we're afraid to let any element of surprise or spontaneity into our artistic experiences.
Which is a stark contrast to Eastern musical traditions where improvisation is often a central part of the performance.
It's like the musicians are having a conversation with each other through their instruments, creating this unique and ever-changing soundscape.
Watts uses the example of John Cage, the avant-garde composer.
Oh, he was a real innovator.
He completely flipped traditional notions of music on their head,
He experimented with everything from prepared piano
where he attached objects to the piano strings to create unusual sounds.
to using radios and tape recorders in his compositions.
And of course, his most famous piece, 433.
A silent piece where the music is the ambient sounds of the concert hall.
That one really blew people's minds.
He really challenged people to think about what music actually is, what art is.
It's like he was saying, hey, wake up and listen to the world around you. It's full of music.
And there's some interesting parallels between Cage's work and Chinese landscape painting.
Both highlight the importance of appreciating the natural world, even in its seemingly random or chaotic forms.
That's a great point.
So moving on to Chinese art and philosophy, Watts points out how differently they view landscape and perspective compared to Western traditions.
It's a completely different way of seeing the world.
Chinese paintings often depict humans as these tiny figures within vast landscapes, you know?
Really emphasizing the interconnectedness of humanity and nature.
It's a beautiful reflection of Taoist philosophy, which emphasizes living in harmony with the natural flow of the universe, rather than trying to control it.
And it's this desire for control that Watts ultimately identifies as kind of destructive.
He criticizes our obsession with foolproof systems.
And this pressure to conform to societal expectations.
He believes it stifles our creativity and prevents us from truly experiencing the richness and wonder of life.
Yeah, it's like we're so busy trying to control everything that we forget to actually live.
And to illustrate this point, he uses a brilliant analogy, the Joker in a deck of cards.
The wild card, the element of surprise that keeps things interesting.
It's like those unexpected twists and turns in life that keep us on our toes.
Watts argues that we need to cultivate our own inner joker.
To embrace the unknown, to allow for spontaneity in our lives.
It's about letting go of the need to control every outcome and opening ourselves up to the possibility of surprise and delight.
It's a powerful message, especially in today's world.
Where everything feels so fast-paced and overwhelming.
Maybe by learning to appreciate the beauty of unpredictability, we can find a greater sense of freedom and fulfillment in our lives.
Absolutely. It's a call to embrace the wildness within ourselves and the world around us.
To let go of our rigid ideas about beauty and order and allow ourselves to be surprised by the magic of life's unfolding.
I love that. The magic of life's unfolding.
It's a reminder that the journey is just as important as the destination, maybe even more so.
And that sometimes the most beautiful and meaningful experiences come from those unexpected detours along the way. So it makes you wonder, what would happen if we just weren't so afraid of the unexpected?
Yeah, what if we were more like, kids again?
Just curious and open to whatever comes our way.
Exactly. Instead of always trying to be in control, what if we just let ourselves be surprised by life?
Watts even challenges our whole idea of time as this straight line, past, present, future.
He says the past and the future are just constructs of our minds.
It's like, think about it, you can't hear the past like a champagne cork popping.
Or the future, like an earthquake that hasn't happened yet.
All we have is the sound happening right now.
It's mind-blowing when you really think about it.
It is, but it makes you realize how much time we spend dwelling on the past and worrying about the future.
And we totally miss out on what's happening in this very moment.
So maybe instead of this rigid, linear view of time, we can think of it more like a river.
Always flowing and changing.
And just like a river carves its path through the landscape.
Our lives are shaped by the experiences we have along the way.
Some are smooth, some are rough, but they all contribute to who we are.
Watts also talks about how we tend to perceive the world visually as static.
But through sound, it's constantly changing.
He suggests this little experiment. Close your eyes and just listen to all the sounds around you.
Don't label them, don't judge them.
Just experience the pure sensation of sound.
It's almost like a mini meditation.
Yeah, a way to be fully present in the moment.
By letting go of all the mental chatter, we can really experience the world as it is.
It's amazing how much we filter everything through our judgments and preconceived notions.
And Watts says this need to control and predict stems from a misunderstanding of how nature actually works.
Like, we inherited this idea of a commander-in-chief running the universe.
Some god who has it all planned out.
But even when we moved away from the idea of God,
we replaced it with the idea of a mechanical universe.
Where everything operates like a perfectly predictable machine.
But that's not how nature works at all.
Nature is not a machine, it's a web of relationships.
Constantly in flux, responding to change.
More like a dance than a machine.
And that's where the beauty of unpredictability comes in.
It's in the unexpected turns, the serendipitous moments.
When life shows its magic.
Have you ever had one of those moments where something totally unexpected happened?
And it turned out to be something amazing.
It's a reminder that sometimes the best things in life happen when we least expect them.
And maybe instead of trying to control every little thing,
we can just embrace the mystery and wonder of it all.
Like those Chinese landscape paintings with the tiny human figures.
It's a good reminder that we're not the center of the universe.
We're just a small part of something much bigger.
And maybe that's a good thing.
Maybe letting go of that illusion of control is actually freeing.
It opens us up to possibilities we never even imagined.
Watts' ideas are so relevant to our daily lives.
If we can just apply a little bit of this, embracing the unexpected.
Letting go of control.
Imagine how much more joy and fulfillment we could experience.
It's like he's giving us permission to be More playful, more spontaneous.
More alive. Yeah, it's like he's saying it's okay to be a kid again, you know?
To rediscover that sense of wonder.
Instead of getting bogged down with all the adulting stuff.
Routines, the to-do lists.
Exactly. Sometimes we just need to slow down and appreciate the simple things.
Like a sunny day or, hearing birds singing.
Those little moments of joy that are all around us.
It's about being grateful for what we have.
And not always chasing after the next thing.
Watts even talks about how sometimes, true enlightenment can feel like a calamity.
It's like it shatters all the illusions we've built up.
Everything we thought we knew about the world.
And it can be a bit disorienting at first.
Like waking up from a dream.
But it can also be really liberating.
You see the world with fresh eyes.
Free from all those preconceived notions.
It's about embracing the mystery of life.
Even when things are uncertain.
It's a beautiful way to look at it.
It's about being open to the possibility that there's so much more out there.
So much more to learn and discover.
So as we wrap up our deep dive into Alan Watts,
what are some key takeaways we can, take with us?
I think one of the biggest things is to embrace the unpredictable.
To let go of that need for control.
And to allow ourselves to be surprised by life.
To cultivate that inner joker.
That sense of playfulness and spontaneity.
And to remember that we're all connected.
To each other, to nature, to something much bigger than ourselves.
It's a powerful message.
It's about finding joy in the journey.
Not just the destination.
So as you go about your day,
pay attention to the beauty around you.
Embrace the unexpected.
And never stop exploring.
That's it for our deep dive into the wisdom of Alan Watts.
We hope you enjoyed it.
And found it as thought-provoking as we did.
Don't forget to check back daily for a new episode.
And if you're looking for more ways to explore these ideas,
be sure to visit www.ultimatemasters.org/coaching
for more information.
Thanks for listening.